Everyone is here for just you and my conversation. So
Let's go. I
let's
love
do
it.
it.
Cool. All right. So, real quick, just want to touch on the first thing you said for new people in here. Um, so yeah, I resonate with gravitating towards accountability rather than running away from it. So selfishly, I have made like 100 friends in here that I actually call them like my best friends at this point. So it's really cool. So if you're new, um, you should reach out to like everybody and be super annoying because it pays off. I promise. Um, so
And your first person, you can be Michael Hall because he just gave permission to reach out to him.
yeah, 100%. You should definitely reach out to me because I speak from the lens of a brand new cleaning business owner. I'm the type of guy that wants to see, I see like the end in mind and I forget about all the things in between. And then when I get faced with all the things in between, I get pretty discouraged. So, and I'm getting better at that. So I'm going to be vulnerable and I'm going to share some numbers from last month, it's like a really tough pill to swallow, but, and I want to get Logan's feedback on, what I've been able to pull out of those numbers. So with sales specifically, that's funny. I was looking at Brian. You should not give my number out. You can just message me. But so for sales specifically, I got 90 leads last month, which is a lot of leads. And 35 of those leads, I scheduled a discovery call for. 27 of those total 90 leads got a quote. So that's 33% of all of the leads that I got. I did not get them on the phone at all to even give myself a chance to give them a quote. So for a long time meaning like a month, I was thinking that I was just like terrible at sales, just the worst. Like the script isn't working, the price is too high, the this, the that. But I just realized like I just purely was not giving myself enough chances. Like I could be the worst salesperson in the world, and if I would have been more consistent and just gave everybody a quote, I would have like probably tripled my top line. So, or doubled it at least. That said, on this month, I'm pacing for 10K for sure. Should be able to clear that, no problem. But my question is regarding that 60 to 70% of people that I wasn't able to get on the phone. I relied way too much on the lead nurture
Mhm.
text that Logan has graciously put together for us.
Yeah.
So it's about, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't gone through the masterclass, freaking do it. Just go through the masterclass. James will drop a link, I'm sure, if he hasn't already. Go through the masterclass. You'll know what I'm talking about. And there's probably like 4 texts that you send to a client before you schedule the discovery call is the idea.
Mhm.
But I found that most of those clients were not, they want to be, basically I relied too much on the text and
Yeah.
they ghosted me after the second or third. And I'm like, well, I'm following the nurture. Like this has to work. So this is definitely a rhetorical question. And I'm speaking for any and all people that struggle with sales or maybe the same kind of blip that I had last month. But do you teach your salespeople to, yeah, you want to follow the nurture script, but do you encourage them to just call them right away as soon as the lead comes in? Or what is your process or thought process behind really getting all of the juice out of every single lead right away?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to answer that question. I also I want to get your numbers correct. So you had 90 leads, 35 of them you got scheduled. They got on phone calls, and you actually uh you gave a quote to 27 of them.
Yeah, so I'm not particularly like counting the amount that didn't actually answer it. I just take the difference between the amount that I quoted
Yeah.
versus the amount that I scheduled. But yeah,
And what were you saying the difference between not so these 27 people you actually talked to them on a phone? Like you called them, we were on a phone call with them, correct?
27 people out of the 90 leads got a quote from me on the phone.
Okay. And then how many of those did you actually close?
12 and 7 of them canceled.
Yeah. So 5.
Yeah, basically. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So I didn't have all that information. And so what were you saying after that? That where did you see that you have room to make progress on those numbers?
The difference between the amount of people that got a quote versus the amount of leads that came in,
Yeah.
that filled out a web form, took 5 minutes to pay attention to my business.
Okay.
And I looked back through most of those leads, and most of them, and I'll be very honest, some of them didn't get a call at all because I was literally relying on them to just text me back before I not just bad business practice, but
Yeah.
yes, the fact is 30% of the leads that came in actually got a quote from me when it simply could have been much higher.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so the way you're seeing these numbers is the number that the constraint that you see that you want to focus on is to give more quotes. So instead of out of 27 out of 90, you want to increase that number. Is that
Yeah,
you see it? Okay. Cool.
correct.
So let's talk about how to solve that problem. Because just so everybody knows, we could try to solve a million of these. Like we could try to solve this problem a million different ways. We could also say, how do we just get 180 leads, right? And keep everything the same. We could say, how do we increase our close percentage? Like there's lots of ways to tackle this. The idea is that if you look at the constraint that you believe is going to have that domino effect on the rest of them, right? And the one that honestly maybe is also the most, maybe the least amount of effort, but the highest return, right? Like which one of these is the highest leverage point? And so what you're seeing right now, what you're feeling, is that if you just got on phone calls with somebody rather than texting them, you would increase your probability or your number of quotes that you give to people, which in turn would increase the amount of people who actually sold.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So now to answer your question, which you asked is like, how do we teach our salespeople? And so it's kind of funny that you actually bring this up, Mike. And I think a lot of us probably experienced this in the last couple of months is with the new texting requirements that the texting companies went out. Some of us lost the ability to text, right? Including our team. So we just for reference, like we do 100 plus cleans a week, and we have we probably get between 5 to 10 leads every single day, and up to the point where we lost our ability to text. Like we were doing exactly as prescribed in the masterclass, and then when we lost our ability to text, it got thrown out, right? And so we were then at that point we were forced to just call people. And since that, again, I'm not going to give you all the stuff in between, but since that time, all we do is call people. I should say that the first thing we do is call people, and then we do texting. And so I think I could keep going, but I'll let our actions just be be what I believe is that we call people and then we text. So we don't stop texting. We just call people. Like as soon as somebody comes in, like we call, right?
Cool. Yeah.
100%. And
Rhetorical question for sure, but just wanted to, again, I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that aren't great at sales, and it's not a lack of skill, it is a lack of effort. And my bank account felt that. I felt that. And so now that is like the one and only thing that I'm focusing on this month, and I'm already seeing a shift. Because now it's not really a matter of my skill being better on the phone. I'm just more convicted because I'm talking to more people and I just feel better about the conversations in general. But yeah, so yeah, thank you.
volume is the answer, right? It's like do more.
More cool. Appreciate you.
And Mike, just as a side note, because there's not any other questions here. So if you guys just want me and Mike to talk, okay, Tyler came up. I know Anna Harris has a question too. There, see, now it happens. See, this is humans. These are humans being humans. One person, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, this person has a question. Mike was super vulnerable. By the way, this is one of the reasons why Mike will be successful is because he's vulnerable. He's willing to be transparent. And if you're just willing to like tell the freaking truth, you'd be surprised at how many people are actually willing to help you. And how good it feels just to like get it off your chest and be like, doesn't sound as silly coming out as it did in here, right? And then you start to see the reaction. It's like it's love not hate. And you're like, but I hate myself, but I'm getting love. So maybe I should change the way that I view these feelings inside of myself. It's kind of crazy. Okay, but Mike, to go on the same point, do you believe that the quicker that you get to somebody, you call them, the likelihood of that conversion of the actual like the 27 to 5, do you think that number will actually go up when you add in a value element of speed to go with it?
I do for sure.
Yeah.
It's just that's just how it works in general. Because if you, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows this, but small businesses in particular struggle with answering the phone. So if you are just the one business, I mean, even the top companies in your area, it doesn't matter what market, where you're at, it
Yeah,
literally doesn't matter. Most people suck at answering the phone.
correct.
In fact, almost everybody sucks at it. But if you're the one person that doesn't suck, you will grow faster. You will just give yourself a better opportunity. And I'm glad that I recognize that right off the rip, because I'll save myself a lot of pain and time and aggravation down the line. But yes, I definitely believe that because it's a fact.
People want to become better cleaning businesses by becoming better cleaners when they would become a better cleaning business if they just answered their freaking phones. Like,
Yeah.
and guess what? Everyone else is focused on trying to be a better cleaner. Like, you need to have a level of competency on cleaning. Correct. If you want to stand out, call people, answer your phones, be reliable, be consistent.
Be a good business owner, and there's so many elements to that, but there literally most people suck at
Yes.
being a business owner. And so if you could just focus on being a better one and putting all the pieces together, which is where I get stuck because I get stuck on one piece and then I don't focus on all the other pieces. It's like you kind of just have to balance everything all at once, and it's really hard. But I'd say the biggest thing I have learned from Logan is if you can track your numbers and take the emotion out of it, and I can just come on a call and answer a question and say, hey, these are my exact numbers, you can have a way more focused conversation and a way more focused thought process to get to the result that you want. So
it's awesome. And
cool.
I think one other piece before I move on, Mike, is like the reason that this is called building $1 million business masterclass and cleaning business and group is because the idea of scale, right? And so it's impossible for you to be able to answer the phone and be a good business owner when you're out in the field cleaning or you're out doing things that are not in the highest and best use of you as a business owner. And so the reason why I teach the model of building $1 million business is because that's enough revenue for you to hire out every position to where you do the only thing that you can do, which is be a leader, which is to pour into your team. And it's the reason that my business grows is because it doesn't need me. I can take a nap and the business continues to grow, right? I can not show up and the business continues to grow. And the moment that your business isn't dependent on you is the moment that the business becomes valuable because it's not dependent on you to answer the phone. You're like, shit, I don't want to answer the phone today. Neither do I. But somebody else who I pay, that's their only job to do, they love answering the phone. They enjoy it because they don't have 1,000 other things they also have to do. And that's the reason that most business owners, speaking for myself, by the way, because I was this way for a very long time, going from 0 to 1, the defiance, as Matt Higgins talked about last week, is the exact opposite of what's going to get you from 1 to 10. The defiant, like, I got this, I'll put this on my back, I'm going to work hard, screw everybody, I know it better myself. That might have got you into business, but it's going to keep you small.
I say it all the time. I'm not a master cleaner.
Yeah.
And I probably never will be.
Yeah.
And so therefore, ignorantly, and I have felt the challenge of not, putting effort into being a good cleaner for sure. But I've just made the decision, like, fulfillment has to be the one thing that I definitely stay out of the way. My welcome email says, thanks for letting the pros handle it. And every time I look at my welcome email, I think the same thing too. I'm like, thank God the pros are handling it.
Yeah.
But I'm putting the pieces together in the background, at least trying to. So, but yeah, I appreciate all of you guys. And yeah, hit me up on Facebook, anywhere. I'm happy to help and share the perspective of brand new business owner, I'm definitely trying my best. So
Yeah. Go get in the Facebook group, go search Michael Hall, and go connect with them. All right. Tyler, what's up, my dude?
What's up?
Oh, hold on, guys. I think I figured out, someone on that last call, they did this really cool thing, Spotlight. Okay, so this was cool. I don't know who did this, but now everybody can see us talking together. Okay, this is cool. All right,
Aw,
look at that. Now you're famous.
just because of your glitter. Here, if I get so I know you guys at Bozeman have been dealing with the problem of cleaning tech callouts, and we're starting to observe a slippery slope in our cleaning tech singular, but bringing on more. So I was wondering if you could share what you guys have been stewing on about how to reduce or at least either reduce the number of call outs, more quickly get those folks out of the company, or just where you guys are at on trying to handle the call out bottleneck.
Yeah. Does anybody else have this problem in their business? Does anyone else have call out issues or call offs, as they're also known as, or people who don't show up when they're supposed to, or people who come up with last minute excuses? Does anyone else have this in their business? Go ahead and put in the chat if you guys have these same things, or if Tyler and me are the only ones who have this. Tyler, is it just me and you? Doesn't look like it. Looks like other people have this problem as well. Okay, good. So it's a problem. In fact, I've never talked to one cleaning business owner who doesn't have this problem. Yes, Renee, I think you're right. It's not just us. So with that being said, we've recognized this for years. It's still a problem, by the way. And Tyler, I think this has helped me, and this has also helped us focus on the gain rather than the gap, what we're facing, right? And so, as a reference point, Tyler was just on the Decade a Day call, and so I made this reference. I think it's important because it's something that I'm learning, and when I learn things, it's easier for me to understand them and be able to teach them, or to understand them when I teach them. And so Tyler got me in contact with this author named Dan Sullivan, and he's an entrepreneur coach. Like, he's been coaching entrepreneurs for 50 plus years. He's very famous inside that circle, and he's written a bunch of books, but he's written a couple. He's co-authored a bunch of a couple like mainstream books, and one of those books talks about this concept of the gap and the gain. And so if we think about a goal that we have, for example, like when Tyler came to Decade a Day, we put out goals for him to build $1 million cleaning company, which is $83,000 a month. And then we had milestones back all the way to when because they started at zero, right? So we created these arbitrary milestones to give him targets to shoot for.
Yep, first one was $1. All right.
Yeah, $1, right? Like, get your first dollar in business. Like, you'd be surprised at how important that one is. And so, as humans, our natural inclination is always to focus on the gap. So when we're at $10,000 a month and we have a goal of $83,000 a month, we see a gap of 70,000. And inside that gap is a lot of frustration. It's a lot of entitlement. It's a lot of victimhood. It's a lot of negative emotions. And at the same time, in the same scenario, Tyler, who's making $10,000 a month, we could also focus on the gain where he was at $0 5 months ago. And so you just made $10,000 a month in 5 months. And when we decide to put our attention and focus there, we start to feel gratitude. We start to feel hope. We start to feel good. There's a lot of positive emotions that lie in the gain. And so the idea of the gap and the gain is very similar to a coin. There's always two sides. And just deciding like which one do you want to look at, which one do you want to focus on is going to be dependent on what sort of emotions are going to arise, right? We can always focus on the gap, or we can always focus on the gain. And depending on which one you focus on is going to dictate your level, your feelings towards where you're at. Okay. So that's to set this whole question up. And so Tyler, back to the idea of callouts. Callouts are not a problem to be solved. They are a problem to be managed. Okay. Which means that it's never going to go away. There's never going to be a situation where you have 0 callouts in your business. But it's kind of like how when we did our vision sheet and we tracked our numbers, we want to see where we're at. We want to set an arbitrary goal, right? Which means that in order for us to figure out what is a lot of callouts, we have to track it. So this is actually something that we do in our business. We track how many callouts we get every single week, right? And we have an arbitrary goal of, I think it's 3 or 5. I can't remember exactly what it is. It's either 3 or 5. We have an arbitrary goal of, let's just call it 5. Katie's actually on here, maybe. Katie can put in the chat how much it is. I don't see it right now on my in my vision meeting, but every single week that we track it. And so our goal is not to eliminate it, it's just to manage it. It's to do better than the goal, right? And to look at back where we've been and to make progress on it. So I think that's the first expectation, is just to know that it's not going to go away. It's just like saying that I want to have a business that does 100% profit. It's just not realistic, right? Now, if you have a business that's doing 15% profit, net profit, make it a goal to do 16, 17, 18, 19, 20%. Like have a goal to do better, right? The gain. So that's the expectation piece of it. Now, strategy. What is the strategy for less callouts? So I can tell you what all the things that we've done along the way, and you guys have probably seen a lot of this in the masterclass, because this is kind of when we were like where we're at. We just kind of share what we're doing. And so we did a lot of what I would consider negative reinforcing, right? So we would say, hey, if you call out, then we're going to stop giving you cleans. If you call out, then you're not going to get the top tier. You're going to basically lose pay. If you call out, we're going to fire you, right? And so what we found with negative reinforcing is that it might motivate people for the moment, but long term, negative reinforcement just leads people to doing something else. Like they'll just like, screw cleaning, I'll go work at a different place for less money because at least I'm not getting negatively reinforced all the time. Okay. And so now our strategy is the opposite. It's positively reinforcing people, right? And so a lot of it, what we believe right now is just the cleaners don't actually understand the impact that they have when they call out. That is the realization that I've come to recently, is that they're not bad people. They're not intentionally trying to make Tyler's life terrible. They're like, you know what? I really want to piss Tyler off today, so I'm just going to call out, right? Like, I don't believe that there's intention. They just don't know. And so the strategy that we're doing right now is we're educating. We're just telling the cleaners, hey, here are all the things that callouts do when you don't show up. And it's funny because I actually made this document. It's actually really good. You guys want me to share just a little bit of this document? I'm not going to release it today, but this is something I'm still working on it. But are you guys cool if I share this document with you guys? I'm not share the document, but I'm going to read it to you guys. And then I think eventually, once it's more refined, eventually I probably will share it. But I'm just going to walk you through this, okay? You guys cool with that? It's cool. Okay. So I think the first part is defining what a call out is. Because again, we say things, our mouths move, but does it make sense? So the first thing to do is I should define a call out. So a call out is when a teammate fails to perform their assigned duties given less than 48-hour notice. Why 48 hours? 48 hours provides the office staff time to reconfigure other cleaner schedules to protect the client. And 48 hours is the same standard our clients are held to. In our business, clients choosing to cancel or reschedule with less than 48 hours are charged. The reason why we do that is because it protects our cleaner schedules. And so that's the logic that I put behind why 48 hours. Okay, so that's what a call out is. The second piece of this is why call outs are a big deal. Call outs impact the cleaner who called out by resulting in lost job ticket hours. Lower job ticket hours affect the amount of money a cleaner can make. Lower amounts of money increase financial stress. Financial stress leads to increased probabilities of negative feelings. Right? So that's how it affects the actual person who calls out. Maybe they don't even realize this, but by you calling out, here's how it affects you negatively. Now, callouts also impact your fellow cleaners tremendously. Callouts cause fellow cleaners' schedules to get changed last minute. This forces fellow cleaners to shoulder the responsibility to follow through on commitments to our clients. Okay. Who else do callouts affect? Callouts also affect the office, right? The office's job is to ensure everyone has a minimum of 2 cleans a day and routes are optimized for efficiency. Schedule optimization decreases when we have callouts. Callouts also impact the ability to have and to keep a full schedule. The sales team's job is to convey the value of our service to new and existing clients. When the sales team is communicating a message that we will say we're going to do, when the sales team's job is to communicate the message that we will do what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it, and their confidence shrinks when we have to tell clients that we can't follow through on previous commitments. So it affects our sales as well, right? And now our clients want one thing. They want us to follow through on what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. Canceling and rescheduling cleans robs our clients of time and attention, the whole reason that they hired us. Right? That's literally the whole reason they hired us. And we rob them of that when we have to cancel, reschedule them. I can keep going. I actually have a lot of this. I can like, are you guys getting value from this? I can't see the chat right now. I can keep going. This is actually pretty long. This is one of those moments where I just had to like get it out of me. And then I've come through and I've refined it to make it more logical. So I get it out to like the finger pointing, the blaming, all that. That version was many versions ago. This is more this is the logical version. But do you guys want me to keep going? I can't see the chat here. Yeah, you guys good? Okay. I see a couple yeses. I just need one yes. I'm an easy sale. Okay. Callouts are the biggest contributor of team and client turnover. The cost to hire new teammates and find new clients is the company's biggest expense. These inefficiencies create less profitability. Less profitability means less growth opportunities. So those are the problems. That's like call it as a problem. Okay. Solution. Does anyone want to hear solutions? I think which is actually how they asked for some solutions, right? So the solutions, I believe, are less tactical and more culture, right? And so our solution is that our team's actions clearly are in clear alignment with our missions and values. Right? So what is our mission? First off, our mission is to consistently deliver on the promises that we make to the Bozeman community. Our core values. Our core values are the acronym of STAR. Our company is 5 star, so we have an acronym of STAR. So S stands for serve. The definition of serve is act in the best interest of the client. T stands for team. Act in the best interest of your teammates. A stands for accountability, which is defined as take responsibility for your actions. And then R is reliability, which is to act on your commitments. And so when we have the mission in sight and we follow our core values, we do not have a call out problem. That's what I believe. When actually, this is what I put on here. When each teammate exemplifies these core values, the probability of achievement of our mission increases. Standards create the blueprint for consistent success. So these are the standards that we've created. These are things that have been communicated to the team. And again, there are standards, they can be changed, but our standards are that we have 3 or less callouts in a 4-month period. You are exemplifying extraordinary character traits. Excuse me, 3 callouts in 3-month period, you are exemplifying extraordinary character traits. 4 callouts in a 3-month period is not a star standard and will be asked to leave the team. This ensures our clients, cleaners, and office staff are provided the opportunity to thrive. A thriving business creates security for everyone contributing to it. So that's a rough version. It'll get better, but Tyler, what gaps need to be filled in from that for you?
No, that was great. That was it. I think it was I think I'm imagining you start that 3-month clock at the first occurrence, or the 4 months, and then it resets. There's a reset period on that. I mean, I don't want to do any disservice to the necessary like context information, because that was great.
Yeah.
But like that's because we've had a similar like protocol for, call it monitoring and disciplining, for lack of a better description, and it works. But yeah, so we had my question there.
So let me kind of go on this. So I think it's very much like a sale, is that the more that you understand the reason why callouts are a problem, the more that you'll be convicted in explaining this to your cleaners, to your staff. That conviction is everything in the sale. And then once you have the conviction, then it's simply just setting a standard to what does it mean to follow the core values. In this realm of callouts specifically, it means that 3 callouts in less than 3-month period, you're exemplifying extraordinary character traits. You are showing the core values in this realm of callouts. The moment that you've reached 4, because is it arbitrary? Yes, but it's creating a standard. The moment that you reach 4 shows that you are no longer you're no longer following the core values of the team. That number is arbitrary. You guys can make that number up, right? The importance is that you have a standard and that you believe in it. There's a reason why you picked it, right? The second piece of this, I think that's probably the most important piece, which is back to the positive reinforcement, is that the way that we've delivered this message has just come from a place of we just all want to win. Like, we want you guys to win. Like, notice how the very first thing I talked about was how it impacted them, right? Like we want you to win. Like, most importantly, when you win, the cleaners win, the other cleaners win, and the clients win. Like, we all want to win. And so this is not a pointing the finger at you. This is just that here's what we need in order for us to be successful. And when you don't show up, it affects other teammates. And so some of you guys might only have 1 employee, but it affects you as the business owner. So like, you're part of the team as well. I think this is the part where I've had to even remind Katie on, is like, we are part of the team too. Like, this is not like we are not excluded. Like, we are part of this. And so when the cleaners call out, does it affect you, Tyler?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it does. Like, you're essentially in the office in this moment, and it doesn't matter if your business has 1 employee or if it has 20 employees. Every single person is affected, and that's what this is basically what I wanted to showcase, is that this is not when you call out, it's not just you problem. It affects everybody, and the more that we understand that, the more that we can work to manage it, right? And we manage it also through positive reinforcing, being like, when it happens, we address it and like, hey, what's going on? Like, it's educating them from the standpoint, do you know who this affects first off? And then how do we, like, why is it happening? Why is it happening? Why is the call happening? Can we solve that problem? Do you even want to be part of this team? Is this a standard that you want to be held to? Some people will just say no, and you can move on, and you can put them in the spot of somebody who actually is willing to follow the standard, who wants to be part of your team. Right? Tyler, you still there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. One question that somebody just had on here is bonuses. And yes, more ways to positively reinforce. Is bonuses positive reinforcing? As long as the messaging is positively reinforcing, then I think that's the strategy that we're working towards. And we've seen positive reinforcement in other areas of our lives work really, really well. And the probability that it will manage the problem of callouts, like the gain of it, I believe is there. Right. And so I think that's the ultimate thing is like, there's so many ways to positively reinforce. It can be bonuses. Like I said this in one Zoom in one training before, but if you understand the different ways to love people, it's not so much of the intensity of love, but it's the frequency of love. Right. And so ways to love people is through attention, approval, affection, accountability, and gifts. Right. Those are the 5 ways that you can love somebody. And so something like a bonus, you could consider that attention and approval, right? And a gift, right? So like it solves multiple needs. And so sometimes like it's just knowing that I want to love somebody, and like sometimes just picking up your phone and sending somebody a voice message through Slack or through WhatsApp, whatever way you communicate with your cleaners, be like, you know what? I just appreciate you. Like you've just shown up, you've done this, you've done that. Like actually just like find something to like see the gain in somebody, right? Back to what we talked about, the gap in the gain, like see the gain somebody's made and you let them know that. You're surprised at how much that works. Right? So, cool. What else, Tyler?
Thanks, Logan.
Here's my friend.
Appreciate you.
All right, let's see if we can do the spotlight thing again. All right. I'm gonna unmute and Kit. I'll do this, add a spotlight. All right.
Hey, thank you so much, Logan. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome, my friend.
Perfect, great. Great to be part of this, fantastic community that you have built. Really awesome information, golden pieces of nuggets that I've been diligently noting as people are sharing their thoughts. So thanks a lot. Appreciate that value. So my challenge is when I started this business, it's been about 2.5 years. This is not something that I'm doing full time, but I intend very much so. I am trying to switch and transition from the standard 9 to 5 job to basically being an entrepreneur. So initially we had this model wherein, we had cleaners on our payroll, and we will literally pick them from home and actually take them to the client side, get the job done, then drop them back home. The reason why we did this is because we wanted to actually have quality control top of mind. That's the value that we were trying to deliver to the clients. And the way we were controlling that quality was we had our own supplies, we had more control and leverage over the cleaning techs, and we would just do an inspection after the job was done. And we quickly realized that that was not sustainable, because my wife was acting as the full-time driver, not even getting paid for it. The margins were so less, and we were thinking that we were paying enough to our cleaners. So in Canadian, landscape, we were paying like $20 to $25 per hour to our cleaners, and just charging our clients $35 an hour. And then we were barely making any money after you offset the gas and the cost of, our cleaning supplies. So then we pivoted to having contractors. So the challenge now with contractors is that they don't take accountability and ownership, right? So for them, it's like I'm not the only one that they work for, because they are not just dedicated totally to me. So it's all about the number of hours of business that I can actually give them. So if they are not getting enough business from me, they are also serving other companies as independent contractors. So they don't take accountability and ownership of the cleaning job. And sometimes they would just basically go behind my back and try to deal directly with the client themselves and just cut me out. At this point, the margins that I have are still pretty low. In fact, now, because I have the independent contractor driving their own vehicle and using their own supplies, so I've upped the amount that I'm giving to them to like $30 an hour, and just I barely have $5 an hour margin, because I just didn't want to shut shop. And rather than being focused on the margin, I was more about like, I just want to make sure my clients don't leave me, because I've worked so hard over past 2 years or so to actually build enough clients. But the challenge that I'm facing now, it's almost like a remote cleaning business, because very few times I have to actually go myself,
Mhm.
into the sites. But I do a lot of, my time goes away in doing sales, in terms of handling the clients, handling the booking, handling all the accounts, the taxes, etc., chasing clients for payments, etc.
Yeah.
So my time and effort goes in that, and I'm barely making $5 an hour gross margin. Right. So the challenge is, what do I do? Because I know I can't go back to driving and picking up cleaners again. So I still want to operate with the contractor or the subcontractor model, but I want them to have accountability and ownership of the job that they're doing. And in the past, when they've not met the minimum standards, I have changed contractors, but that has directly impacted my clients who were used to having a certain person come in their house, and now, like, I switch and I send another person out. So how do I handle that while continuing the subcontractor model?
So I'm going to ask you a question about the employees first. So the way that you did employees was that you picked them up and dropped them off,
Correct.
right?
They didn't have a vehicle because they didn't know how to drive. They didn't have a vehicle.
Yeah. So I guess if we just explore questions around that model specifically, does that have to be the way that model is ran?
So is that question to me? No, not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't. So I'll tell you my mindset why I was running it like that, because I had a ton of supplies that the cleaners didn't have and I had.
Yeah.
And I could ask the cleaner. One option was I could ask the cleaner to just take the public transit and go to the client's house, but then they needed the client to provide the supplies, and not a lot of clients have all the appropriate supplies. So that's where, because I had to provide the supplies and my cleaners couldn't drive and didn't have access to a vehicle, is how I thought that, okay, this is the only way out. The other alternative is I could just either hire a cleaner who has a vehicle and knows how to drive, and then just give them my supplies, or just basically have them completely independent, stock the supplies in their vehicle, or even provide a vehicle which is on a company lease, which a lot of big brands do over here, right? A lot of brands that operate in Canada, that's the model. They have a company leased vehicle, they have the equipment, they provide that to the cleaner. The cleaner is still on the payroll of the company. They don't work for anybody else. But I cannot do that because my revenues are not such
Yeah.
that I can accommodate having a
Why
vehicle.
why can't we just narrow the amount of people we hire down to people who have cars? Is that an option?
Could do, but it was a challenge finding such people, because the thing is, they very quickly realize that what is the value that I'm adding. If they have access to a vehicle, they can drive, they can clean, and they could just buy their cleaning supplies. Even if they didn't have the initial money, they could just work for me for a month, have enough money saved up, and buy all the supplies outright. So then they're like, why do we need you? Because we just steal all your clients, and then just we continue to service them. So that was the challenge that I was facing, because I did test the model wherein people who had driving skills and could drive and owned a vehicle. That was the challenge that I was running into.
Interesting. And how many people like left your business as employees who had cars to go start their own businesses?
Maybe like 4.
And how many people did you hire?
So I've gone through about 25 or so total cleaners in like the 2.5 years of me running the business.
And all those people had cars?
No. Out of those 25, barely, as I said, like 4 or 5 had cars.
And also, basically every single person you hired who had cars left to start their own business, is what you're saying.
Correct. They just spun off and they just started serving my same exact same clients directly themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we have a case of like it happened multiple times now that you believe that that's just the way it is. I think that I can speak for many of the cleaning business in here because many of them I actually have helped and coached. Is that like that's the model that we run, and that's the model that I share. And I've had, I think, one person who went off and started their own cleaning business. They actually didn't steal any of our clients. We actually, like, they came on with the expectation that they were eventually going to start their own thing, and I said, go for it, because getting the clients is not the biggest constraint in most people's businesses, and never has been in ours. So it's never been the thing that I've feared. And also, that's also a like expectation in the front end. I think that sounds like potentially wasn't set properly. That happened 4 or 5 times. That's more of like, I believe, an expectation problem more likely than it is an actual like them problem. And if you just set the expectation up front, it's like, hey, like you can have them sign a non-compete. You can set the expectation that if you really don't want them to do that, then just like set the expectation, and then also be looking for that sort of those character traits when you're doing the hiring, because most people actually don't want to start their own thing. Like, we've hired 124 people, which means we've interviewed hundreds of employees, and like one person has ever expressed interest they wanted to go start their own thing. Right now, if you led that on, there's a difference in that, and I think that if it's happened 4 or 5 times, I'm going to make the assumption, this is me assuming things, that somehow you led them to that conclusion that they should start their own thing, right? And even how you're talking with me now, like, I'm just making total generalizations. I don't know enough about your story, but that would be what I am going to assume in this situation. However, that being said, your problem could be, I would fix your problem this way, that way, with hiring employees, setting proper expectation. And the second piece of that is having a percentage based model. And you can even do this with independent contractors as well. That they get paid on a percentage of what the clean is. So if the clean is $100, they get a percentage of it, right? So that is something that we've taught inside the masterclass, which is called empowerment pay, where it basically protects your margins from the very same problem that you're currently facing. And that can be done with contractors, but it also can be done with employees. It works better with employees because you have more control than only working for you. And it's based on like the more hours they work, the higher percentage they get. Where if you're doing contractors, there's issues with that because they also have their own jobs. So I think that how I would recommend solving that problem is percentage-based pay. So it protects your margin. And then the second piece of that, my only recommendation would be to like, if you want the control over the finished outcome of the work, employees are going to be that, and then just setting expectations of like what's expected of employees, of like you have like sign non-competes, like George just said right there, you're gonna have them sign non-competes, non-solicitation. Is it going to stop them from doing it? Doesn't matter. It's just more of like it just makes them second guess it, right? If that's their only intention.
Got it. And what's a standard percentage split between?
Yeah. So the way that we have it set up in our business is that we have it set up as 3 different tiers based on how many hours they work. So 30% is the lowest tier, and then if they work less than 28 hours per week, they get 30% of the total revenue generated, which means that if for the week they generated $1,000 and they worked less than 28 hours, they get $300 of it before taxes.
Got it.
If they work between 28 and 34 hours, they get 38%. So that same $1,000, they would make $380. And then if they work over 34 hours, then they would get 43% of that, which means they would make $430 in that same example of making $1,000 of revenue per week, right? So you basically reward them for working more, because when somebody works more, they're more efficient. It's more efficient for the company.
Makes sense.
Right.
Awesome. Okay, this is great. I have
Yeah.
some good actionable tips that I can follow. Thank you so much.
Cool. Okay, welcome, my friend. And there's a
So,
couple other people in Canada that are inside this group too, which
yes, I have noted, and I'll be reaching out to them. Yes, so thanks a
cool.
lot.
Yeah. I think Gregorio is actually from Canada. I think somebody Renee said that he had a very similar problem that he did, and he's a huge leader in the group. He's somebody, if you just search his name, Gregorio, you'll see him all over the place. But
Right.
somebody definitely to reach out to for sure.
Awesome.
So cool, my friend. Welcome.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Renee. What's up, Renee? My favorite people here.
Oh, there I am. I was like, oh, geez, Louise, what happened? Yeah. And definitely reach out to Gregorio because he had a similar issue with the driving last year. And I can't remember exactly what he did to overcome the lack of driving in cars or whatever it is in his area because he's over on the opposite side of Jessica and Lucas. Because Jessica and Lucas are on the East Coast. He's on West Coast, but if you reach out to him, he's super, super kind and he will help you. Okay, so my question. When I raised my hand, what were we doing? Oh, yes, there we go. Sorry. You said like 3 words, and apparently I was the third one that you saw. Yeah, he is killing it right now. He's like on fire. And his dad is amazing too. So, but squirreled. I can't look at the chat and talk at the same time, apparently.
Renee,
So
ask your question. Come on. People are getting frustrated with you. I'm just joking. Go for it. What do you got?
okay,
girl?
so you said that now with the lack of text messaging, because I've had back and forth issues with that as well, that it's back on apparently,
Mhm.
that you're just picking up the phone and calling them.
Yeah.
So you're having your US based
Correct.
people instead of, because I have my
Yeah.
magical Monica who does my lead nurture.
Correct. Yeah. So we have a dedicated salesperson. So again, this is why it's always important to understand the resources you have access to. If you don't have access to a full-time salesperson, like if you don't have a full-time salesperson, then like picking up, like if you're not the full-time salesperson yourself, first off is probably where most of this advice would be given to. Like Michael Hall, he is the salesperson in his company. Stop texting and start calling. If you are the full-time salesperson in your company, Renee, which I know you are as well, pick up the phone and call people. Have her be the fallback. Like have her continue to do her texting thing, and you just start hammering the phones and picking. Like you're on there, you see the lead come in and you call. Like boom,
Okay.
fast speed.
And instead of the reverse, which we were doing it so that she was doing the lead nurture, getting them on my calendar.
You can still have her do all that stuff. Like you don't have to tell her. You just start calling people, and then you just mark them as sold instead of marking them as like that they need to get an appointment. Like they're sold because I picked them up and called them. So like I scheduled an appointment and I converted them or whatever. If you didn't convert them, it's okay. Just mark it on your calendar, however it's marked, so Monica knows.
Okay. That was my question. Because I was like, wait a minute. I just did this.
So again, like this all happened because our texting got taken away, which again, it's a positive thing. Just like how we can focus on, oh, this sucks, or like okay, this is a good opportunity. So going back to how this whole system was created. So some of you guys know that like when we came to the cleaning business, we took our funnel that we had created from our fitness business and we had just literally changed it from weight loss to cleaning. And we made some tweaks and it worked. And since then, we've pretty much ran the same funnel since then and it works, right? So I think what I forgot, because it's been since 2017 since we got this fitness funnel, is that how we used to nurture leads before texting and all this automation stuff, we used to just call people. Like there was no texting. It was how many dials can I make? And that's how we initially started. And it worked for a long time. And then we just got complacent or lazy or whatever it may be. And we started using texting because it became easier. But calling is more effective. And texting still works. But if you want to be more effective, you can just call people. And you like I was saying to Michael, is you'd be surprised at how a lot of our clientele, they appreciate the calling because most people are just texting. Right. And the speed that you can get something done, like if you think about it, if our ideal client, they values time over money, then think about how much quicker, we already get on phone calls. So if we have to do texting in between, there's attention and there's time spent that we have to text somebody to get them on a phone call when we can just pick up the phone call and they could just like, hello. And then all of a sudden that's the last time they got to talk to us. And then we get to go to their house and clean their house. And then we send them an invoice and they pay us and they say, can we do that again? And you say, yes. And they're so happy because they only had to spend 20 minutes on a phone call and they get their house cleaned every single week. Like that's value.
Okay.
Right. That's ideal. Now you continue to have Monica do her thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That it'll work. It'll all work out. I mean, we're not getting enough leads so that she was inundated anyway. So I started teaching her a few other things. Aren't you proud of me? Delegation. And for those of you that don't know, I have trouble delegating sometimes. So, or I used to.
You are not alone, and you're also not alone in making that shift, right? Because you can only bang your head against the wall so many times before you have to eventually look in the mirror and see the blood and be like, okay, what I'm doing is hurting me, and if I'm hurting myself, I'm also hurting the business. Right?
Yeah.
So
all right, so I'll just switch it out.
I don't think you have to switch it out. I think that all you have to do, so again, what problem are you trying to solve? This is why this is important. This is why it's important to not just give random advice, Logan. So this is my advice to myself, is that understanding context. Is sales a constraint in your business right now? That's the question I have for you.
Yes.
Okay. Like Mike gave me his numbers. And so do you have your numbers in front of you?
Yeah, I texted them to you. Hold on, let me pull them up so I don't misspeak.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, so 40 leads last month.
Yeah.
6 calls, 5 closes, 18 leads were not even in our area. Like, I don't know I don't know. Evan said something about
18,
Facebook.
18 leads were not in your area?
Nope.
So that means out of those 40 leads that we had 22 that were actually good leads.
Yes.
So 22, and you only got on a phone call with 6 of them and you converted 5. So
yep.
Okay. What do you see as the constraint then with those numbers?
One, getting more leads into our area.
Yep.
And not in across the state in Litchfield Hills.
Yeah.
And
are you responsible for getting those leads? Is that actually something that is you're responsible for, or have you delegated it to Evan?
That I delegated it to Evan, and Evan
Okay.
and I have had several chats.
Okay. So that's one thing. That's probably the biggest one, in all fairness.
Yep. The rest of it is your normal, they clicked, oops. I still count them even when they text back and say, I don't need a cleaner right now, or I didn't mean to do that, or all the whatevers.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
that happens a lot.
So I love using baseline percentages as an idea of standards. Okay. Just like we talked about with call outs, 3 standards in a 4-month period. We just have some sort of standard to go by. So when I take 6, actually it's 5, right? Because you converted 5. So 5 divided by 22. So basically I just took the number of conversions divided by the total number of qualified leads. I got 23%. So you converted 23% of your leads, which means that you don't have a conversion problem. 15% is good.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, whoa, that does not sound good to me. Okay, thank you. Yeah. I didn't know that.
15%, when we were doing gym launch, when we were doing the gyms,
yep.
If we're doing 15%, that was what I considered to be good. Anything below that, then we need to start figuring out, we need to make some changes.
Okay.
20% was you're doing pretty dang good. And if you're doing 25 to 30%, It means that you were just calling a lot of people. Like you're doing lots of work to get that. So the fact that you're 23%, you're doing like, that's good. Okay. Your problem is that it's 5.
Yeah.
So
It didn't even pay for itself. It did
Yeah.
not, and I let Evan know that I was not thrilled.
So at that point, you just need more leads. Right?
Mhm.
Your conversion stuff is fine. I would leave everything the same. I actually wouldn't touch anything. Like again, if you want to jump in and call people, like it's not going to affect what Monica's doing. So, but like that is not your problem. So let's not focus on like there's lots of 2 or 3 fires. I call them. We call these like little dumpster fires. Like just let them burn. Like they'll eventually burn themselves out. Like go find the biggest problem in your business right now. It looks like we just need more leads, and that's something that you can continue to communicate with Evan. Like you found a who to be able to tackle that, and just configuring to get more leads, and then you keep doing what you're doing, which is converting those. And then at that point, our next constraint is probably going to be the amount of cleaners.
Right. Well, I'm a little concerned because I just had 2 more cleaners come out of training.
Let's go. Now we have good problems. Good.
That we have a good problem,
Good
but
problems.
I'm like, come on, Evan, do your thing there, buddy.
It's good.
So yeah, and also the call out thing. Thank you for that, because I think it's always good to hear of a new thought process, because I know that they don't get it. They don't understand what it does.
I believe it's the single biggest constraint that it being unlocked. Why can't we have a $3, $4, $5 million company? I don't see it. I don't see why we can't if we unlock the attrition on the cleaners. I just don't. So
And then if you, okay.
Yeah.
Super vulnerable peoples. If I know that if I put a standard in place, I have to hold them to it. Otherwise, my word is garbage. And then I'm breaking promises to myself, which is really bad.
Yeah.
I don't think that you worry about this. However, I've been short-staffed so many times that I'm almost afraid that if I do hold them to that, like I say, 3 call outs in a quarter, blah, 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 blah. And I put that out there. And so I have to hold them to that. Then we'll be short-staffed again. It's like this circle thing that's not good in my head.
I just had this conversation earlier today with Alyssa and Taylor.
Oh, okay.
They came out to Decade a Day about a month ago,
Mhm.
and we're talking about callouts. And I told them that the feeling of losing a cleaner, whether you have 1 cleaner, whether you have 20 cleaners, the default is always going to be fear. It's always going to be scarcity by default, right? So if you think that once you have 5 cleaners or you have 10 cleaners that goes away, I will tell you from experience, we've had over 20 cleaners at one point in our team. Like it never goes away.
Oh,
it never goes away on accident, right? Which means that the number is arbitrary. Like it's all what it is. It's a focus on the gap. It's focus on scarcity. And so understanding that what beats fear is faith and belief and serving. And when you understand, that's why it was so important that I went back through. Is like here's what callouts affect. Is that we get so afraid for our own egos. When I let somebody go, well, that means that my revenues are going to go down, which makes me look bad, or it means that I have to go do the work, which makes me look bad, right? But do we actually focused on the other people in our business? Are we focused on the other teammates? Are we focused on the clients and how it affects them? And so in the short term, it might mean all those things. It might mean your revenue goes down. It might mean that you have to go do cleans. It might mean lower status for you. in the short term. But when you do hold that standard, guess who it attracts?
People with a higher standard.
Exactly. And so what I've actually seen in our team, because we've had a big team, is that when we haven't enforced call outs and making it a big deal, we've lost great cleaners. So we've lost our A players because we didn't enforce it.
Okay.
I've seen it. So I believe it. And now I'm just like, let's chop the heads, man. Let's chop the fat, because I've seen it affect our A players enough times that it's made them quit, which is not good for the business. It's not good for the clients. And so that feeling, it's just where we choose to focus. We can choose to focus on the fear, or we can choose to focus on the faith and the belief in the service. And you know what? I'm willing to go down with faith and belief and service. And I'm not willing to go down in fear and scarcity and like just staying, right? So I always believe in taking action, like always moving forward, or at least moving. It doesn't always lead to moving forward, but like action with the right intention, with the right enough times, increase the probability of success.
Okay.
Right? And then I see somebody in here. Brian Grant actually said a good thing, and this goes back to like being able to explain it. So Renee, you first must understand how big of a deal it is, how much it impacts everybody else. And so you can have the conviction to tell your cleaners this, because it's not that we're trying to discipline them. We're not trying to fire them. We want them to win. We all want the same thing. We all want to be successful. They do not understand it. So it's your job to be able to understand it. And so when you understand it, you can relay that with conviction. And so it's like, I want you to win. In order for you to win, I need you to freaking show up, because when you don't show up, it affects Renee. It affects Nancy. It affects Andrew. And Andrew and Nancy and Renee are stars. And stars expect to be around other stars. And so the moment that you stop meeting the standard, I can have you on the team. And also our clients, Betty, Johnny, and Rainey, like they expect us to be 5 stars as well. Do you see that? Do you understand how callouts are affecting the team? Do you see how it impacts more than just you? And do you know how it impacts you? It impacts your pay. It impacts your ability to make money. When you make less money, you have more stress. I want you to win, Renee. Here's how you can win. You can show up. Can you do that? Do you want to do that?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Are you willing to put in the work?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, I believe in you, Renee. And so I'm going to hold you accountable to the standard that 3 callouts, you get 3 callouts in 3 months. Does that seem fair?
Yes.
Okay. You can do it. If you need help, I'm here to support you. I want you to win. Cool?
Cool.
Right. So back to the idea of showing love, right? Like it's truly what it is. Like we want our team to win. And the only time we point fingers, the only time we feel adversarial is when we don't understand. When we don't understand, it's funny because like we're like, they don't understand. They don't understand. You don't understand. Frustration is a lack of understanding by you, not by them. When you understand, then it becomes your job to just convey the message as many times as possible till it finally clicks. It's like, oh, now I get it. One time is not enough. Like we've been doing this. We're not saying this is a process, because we've been doing this over the last probably 2 months of like every single team meeting is this message. And we actually get better at it, which is like, this is the important part, is that we get better at delivering it the more times that we have it. Like we get better at delivering it in a positive manner. We get better at making it make sense, because we start to see that there's like people don't understand it. They start to go like this. They have questions afterwards. And then based on the feedback we get, we become better at delivering our message. And so the only thing that's going to make this message become easier to understand is the more times that you say it, and more times that you practice it, the more times you stay vulnerable, which you're doing right now, with them, and just saying, this is a problem. Right? And I need your help. Like, You're not the problem. You just don't understand. And so I'm taking the responsibility of helping you understand what the problem is, and taking the responsibility of holding you accountable to the standard. And maybe I didn't do a good job of explaining that in the beginning, but now I understand it. Is this something you even want to be a part of? And I think that's like the ultimate move in this whole, in like every situation. And it goes back to the abundance mindset, is like, if they don't want to be part of it, then let them go. If they don't want to be part of the standard, then let them go. Like, most people all started their business with one person, which was just you. And so if that's what you have to do in order for you to establish this culture, are you willing to do what it takes? Right? And when you're able to make that commitment to yourself, be able to have that conviction, to have that same conversation with somebody else, and like, are you willing to do it? And they're like, I'm willing to do it. Like, good. Me too. Right. And now you've created a connection. You've created a stronger relationship. And that's actually how you keep people longer. Right. And guess what? We're in the cleaning industry, which means that you can have amazing connections and people will still leave. That's it. You can do all the right things and you will still have people who will leave. That's why it's so important that you just do it so many times that it becomes unreasonable for you to be successful.
Okay.
We hired 124 cleaners and we currently have 14 or 15. I think we have 2 in training right now. Like, a lot of cleaners that didn't work out. Like, we should have hired 200 so we could have 20. Do more.
Okay.
Right. Cool.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. All right, Nancy, what's going on, girl?
Did you say me, Logan?
Didn't you have your hands raised?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. My kid walked in and it said something.
Oh,
I
those
want to go
pesky
back.
kids are always in the way.
Yeah, I know.
Last time they were a problem, we talked, and they're still a problem.
I know. They just refuse to stop being a problem. Just kidding. They're great. So I want to go back because on your scorecards, I kind of like redid them for my own, and then have kind of just keep adding things that the cleaners keep needing, or like they want to see the hours for like cleans that they've been a part of for like the commission based stuff. So I put that in there. I put in their like call record if they're like asking for time off because one girl put the wrong dates in, blah blah blah, lots of stuff there. But I like the concept of it. I want to pick your brain about how to make it more hi buddy, how to make it more positive, because you were talking about that earlier and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the problem, is that it's just a ding 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 ding.
Yeah, so we stopped setting those scorecards because of that reason, because we felt it was very much a negative, like there's lots of negative things. Yeah, so I think it was back to the story I was saying of like what we're trying to solve the problem with here's all the bad stuff you're doing. We stopped doing that, right? Going
Okay.
forward to the positivity, or to like the positive reinforcement. We've hired somebody like specifically to be the what we call the chief recognition officer, right? Of the cleaners. And so like her job is to simply love on the cleaners, right? Those are the 5 ways I shared earlier. I'll share them again: through attention, approval, affection, and accountability, and then gifts, right? And so like that's her job. She has a budget where she spends every single month to show love to them. But you'd be surprised at how much just saying "I see you," how much that actually means to people. Prime example: yesterday we had a cleaner at our house, and we had our 3-year anniversary a couple weeks ago, and we all had dinner, and I was just having a conversation with her, and she said it was her birthday. I was like, oh. And then she was talking about an air fryer, how she wanted an air fryer, and just was like, I'm just listening to her. I was like, okay, cool. And then as soon as we left that night, I texted our chief recognition officer, and I was like, hey, like, let's get her an air fryer for her birthday. and I forgot about it in all transparency. Like, and then yesterday she was cleaning her house and she's like, I just wanted to thank you guys so much. Like, I've never had a boss who actually listens to me before. I was like, cool. I was like, I kind of forgot about that, but awesome, right? So you'd be surprised at how much those little things mean to people, and just like it allows us to create a closer connection. And when we have closer connections, the likelihood of somebody sticking through shitty times is much higher. And if everyone doesn't realize this, like there's going to be shitty times. 100% there's going to be shitty times. Like there is no relationship where there's not going to be challenges, there's going to be obstacles, not going to be tough times. And what allows people to stay through those times is that they feel heard, that they feel connected, that they feel like they're a part of something. And which goes back to the thing that Renee and I were talking about of having standards. Like we think that standards push people away, but standards keep the people who are attracted to that type of culture, right? And so it definitely takes some belief and some faith to be able to make that transition, or to believe that. But that's the truth, right? So as far as like strategies for your cleaners, I think moving forward, like how do you positively reinforce them? Like what are what are the positive things that you look at the scorecard that you can take and be like, okay, like here, I want to show you this.
I feel like we starting to do them, our quality has gone up so much. And I don't know if it's just that as like a natural, like just me as a like person, I don't do it because I'm just avoiding conflict. I do it because that's really what I see. That really is my perspective when I'm like, okay, yep, we'll learn from it. But like, look at how great you did. And look what, like, that comes naturally to me. And so I think the scorecards, like, it's like I've never had people taking photos all the time, and now they're taking photos all the time, and I'm trying to downplay the actual score. And so I've actually like widened the gap of like, and you know what, maybe it could just be like, you're doing excellent, or like, we need to talk. Maybe I could just like make it so it's not like a number, because everybody's a people pleaser, and they all are like, I want 100, but there's a lot of good that's come of them. But
so keep the good and get rid of what you think is not helping. That's it.
Okay.
Right. Like,
Okay.
I think that's what this whole thing is about. The masterclass, everything that we do is like it's you guys taking what we're doing, and then like what works. Like how do you make it work for you and your personality and your values and where you're at in your business? Because we're all like we're all in the same business, or appears to be the same business. We're in different we're in different situations. We have different values to some degree, and we all have different experiences. And like the level of commitment is more important than what we're committed to, if that makes sense. Like 100% committed to strategy A is more important than being 90% committed to strategy B. Even if strategy B on paper, it appears to be a better strategy, but the commitment level is more important. Does that make sense? So you'll be more successful by committing 100% to a strategy, even if it appears to be a longer distance to the outcome, than if you were to 90% commit to what appears to be a better strategy. So
cool. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. Awesome, guys. All right. Well, we did it. We were on here for almost 2 hours. Hopefully you guys got some value from it. Was it Thursday? Yeah. Hopefully you guys had having a wonderful week. And thank you guys for hopping on here. Thank you guys for contributing and hanging out. Hopefully you guys got some friends. Maybe this was your first time on here. Maybe you've been on here multiple times, like Brian and Renee and Nancy and Ada. And if you're not, again, if you're not part of the masterclass, ultimately, like it's free. Go be part of it. It's amazing. James will drop the link one more time, but you can go get it. It's inside the Facebook group. You can just search masterclass, and you guys do an amazing job of posting link inside there. But again, if you need help, post inside the Facebook group. Go make friends. Go add Brian and Renee and Nancy and Adi and Michael Hall and Autumn. Christine is on here as well. Jose. Go add them as friends and actually like ask them questions. And be of value too. Like see how you can help them. So happy Thursday, guys. Appreciate y'all and see you guys next week. Bye.